Hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss chest discomfort. Herein we will discuss the causes, how to approach a patient who presents with chest discomfort, how to diagnose the various causes of chest discomfort, etc. Moving on, chest discomfort is caused by myocardial ischemia, cardiopulmonary causes, and non cardiopulmonary causes. Myocardial ischemia, as expected, angina and MI will cause chest pain. And in amongst the cardiopulmonary causes, pericarditis and acute aortic syndrome, pulmonary embolism, pneumonia or pleuritis, and spontaneous pneumothorax will cause chest pain. Amongst the non-cardiopulmonary causes, GI is the most common cause of chest discomfort, and neuromuscular and psychological form the other reasons. Now, myocardial ischemia. Angina or MI generally present with a pain which is described by the patient as a feeling of pressure, a feeling of tightness or squeezing discomfort, or a feeling of heaviness or burning. The pain is basically retrosternal and radiation is commonly seen in shoulder, arm, neck, and jaw. How will you differentiate whether the etiology is angina or MI? In MI, the pain is more severe and prolonged, lasting for more than 30 minutes, and it is not relieved by rest. Now, cardiopulmonary causes, pericarditis is the pain due to the inflammation of the pleural membranes. Visceral and parietal surface are insensitive to pain. So the pericardial pain is primarily due to pleural inflammation, and the pain is exacerbated by breathing, coughing, or a change in position. This pain is referred to the shoulder and neck, as opposed to the radiation of pain to the shoulder, arm, neck, and jaw in angina or MI. One specific term we have to know here is Takotsubo cardiomyopathy. Now, this is a stress related cardiomyopathy and MI. This starts off with chest pain and shortness of breath, and it mimics MI in the way that ST segment is elevated and the cardiac biomarkers are also elevated. Moving on to diseases of the aorta, acute aortic dissection needs to be diagnosed early, otherwise its consequences are catastrophic. What is aortic dissection? It is basically a tear in aortic intima where the media is separated and a false lumen is created. Acute aortic dissection is associated with hypertension and connective tissue disorders. The pain is sudden onset and unrelenting. It is described as tearing or ripping in nature and or knife-like. Acute aortic syndrome, it should be AAS, is divided into ascending aorta or descending aorta involvement. Now, if the ascending aorta is involved, the pain presents in the midline anterior chest, and if the descending aorta is involved, the pain goes to the back. Pulmonary embolism, another cause of chest pain. It is also sudden in onset, and the pain is primarily pleuritic. There will be a history of dyspnea, tachypnea, tachycardia, and hypotension. If it's a small pulmonary emboli, the pain will be lateral in nature. However, if it's a massive pulmonary emboli, it will be a severe substernal pain which will mimic MI. Now, pneumonia and spontaneous pneumothorax also present with pleuritic pain. However, spontaneous pneumothorax, you will see breath sounds will be absent or lower in intensity on that side. Now, coming to the non-cardiopulmonary causes of chest pain, GI is the most common cause of non-traumatic chest discomfort. Gastroesophageal reflux and esophageal spasm should be taken in the differential diagnosis of chest pain. Trauma of the esophagus, for example, a Mallory Weiss tear or esophageal rupture, which is known as Boerhaave syndrome, are causes for chest pain. Also, the quality of pain is described as burning, and the esophageal spasm mimics angina. Now, cholecystitis and biliary colic are also known to mimic the cardiopulmonary causes. Moving on to musculoskeletal, costochondritis is basically inflammation of the costochondral junction, which is known as the Tietz syndrome. The pain is sternal and described as aching, and it is a pretty common condition seen in chest pain. Herpes zoster also causes a sharp burning pain. It is prolonged, and a dermatomal distribution is seen. Also, you can diagnose this by detecting a vesicular rash in the area of discomfort. Psychological reasons include emotional conditions or stress, but we will not discuss this in detail. Now, how do you approach a patient? Whenever a patient presents to you with chest pain, you have to prioritize the high risk conditions for diagnosing ACS, acute aortic syndrome, uh, pulmonary embolism, tension pneumothorax, pericarditis with tamponade, esophageal rupture. These are conditions you have to diagnose as early as possible. Now, what kind of history will you get? If it's myocardial ischemia, you will get a history of pressure or tightness in the chest. However, you will get the same history if it's a esophageal spasm. However, if you get a history of tearing or ripping pain, then you should know that it might be a acute aortic dissection. The location also plays an important role. The if the pain is described as substernal and radiation to the neck, jaw, shoulder, and arms, as previously discussed, it you will think of this condition as angina or MI. If the pain is radiating to both the arms, there are increased chances that this might be an MI. However, if the pain is highly localized, it is not likely to be an angina. If the pain is retrosternal, you should think of esophageal involvement. If the GI system is involved, the pain will be referred to the abdomen and epigastrium. If there is a severe pain radiating to the back, you should think of acute aortic syndrome. And radiation to trapezius ridge is characteristic of pericarditis. Now, the pattern of pain. Myocardial ischemia, the pain will last for minutes and it will decrease after due rest. In acute aortic dissection, the pain will reach a peak immediately, and this will be seen pulmonary embolism and spontaneous pneumothorax. The pain in myocardial ischemia and gastroesophageal reflux is seen in the morning. Now, provoking and alleviating factors. Warm-up angina is a phenomenon seen in patients wherein they experience relief from the angina as they continue the exercise at the same or greater level of exertion. So you should keep this in mind. Pericardial pain is worse in supine position, and the patient experiences relief in upright position or when he or she leans forward. If the pain is exacerbated by eating, you must think of GI involvement. And if after administering nitroglycerin, the patient experiences relief, it is likely to be a myocardial ischemia or esophageal spasm. Now, what symptoms will be associated with the pain? In case of myocardial ischemia, you will see diaphoresis, dyspnea, nausea, fatigue, and eructations, which is another term for belching. Now, in pulmonary embolism, hemoptysis and syncope are seen. However, the syncope is also seen in acute aortic dissection and ischemic arrhythmia. Nausea and vomiting is primarily a symptom of GI. However, you must remember that it might be seen in the presence of MI also because of vagal activation or Bezold-Jarisch reflex. Now, what kind of history predisposes to certain conditions? Marfan syndrome predisposes to acute aortic syndrome and spontaneous pneumothorax. Now, physical examination. A general examination in case of a patient who has MI or cardiopulmonary involvement will present as anxious, uncomfortable, pale, and cyanotic. Levin's sign will be positive here. What is Levin's sign? The description of pain will be described with a clenched fist held against the sternum. Now, vital signs. If you see tachycardia and hypotension, then it is more likely to be acute MI with a cardiogenic shock or a massive pulmonary embolism or a pericarditis with tamponade or a tension pneumothorax. A sinus tachycardia suggests a submassive pulmonary embolism. Now, the pulmonary examination. If patient has pulmonary edema, he or she can have left ventricular dysfunction. It might be a valvular complication of MI, or it might be a aortic dissection. So relevant investigations in that direction should be made. In the musculoskeletal system, if the pain is arising from the costochondral junction, then you obviously know that it is costochondritis. However, chest wall tenderness does not exclude a myocardial ischemia condition. Now, when you will do a ECG, the current guidelines suggest that if a relevant history is present, get an ECG within 10 minutes of presentation. Why? Because this will help you in diagnosing the ST elevated MI patients. If ST elevated MI is absent, then you should check for ST depression and T wave inversion, which will suggest myocardial ischemia. And abnormal ST segment and T wave are seen in pulmonary embolism, pericarditis, and myocarditis. And pulmonary embolism is also associated with sinus tachycardia, as we saw above. Now, a chest radiograph will show you pulmonary involvement, which may be pneumonia or pneumothorax. Also, in pulmonary embolism, the Hampton's hump and Westermarck sign will be positive. We should repeat a cardiac troponin test in 3 to 6 hours, because a change in these levels will help us differentiate the acute causes from the chronic causes. Acute causes will include MI, and chronic causes will include structural heart disease or end stage renal disease, which also lead to elevated cardiac biomarker levels. D-dimer test can help you exclude pulmonary embolism. Moving on to the last investigation, the CT angiography. It will help you detect obstructive coronary disease and help you exclude aortic dissection, pericardial effusion, and pulmonary embolism. That will be all for today. Thank you.